Welcome. My name is Zachary Rempel. So, let's take a multiplication equation, such as 24 times 13, and unwrap it, first by estimating the sum, and then solving the equation, concretely, pictorially, and symbolically, and finally with a personal strategy of mine that may work for your students. So first, let's estimate this. How would we estimate 24 times 13? Well, let's look at the factors. So if I write down 24 times 13, I can make these numbers into friendlier numbers that we can work with. So let's bring 24 to 25 because I like 25. And then we can make 13 into 10 because 10 is a really easy number to work with, especially as a factor in a multiplication equation. So if we multiply these two together, that equals 250 because we add another place value to here. Now 250 is a pretty high number, so you're going to think that the sum is going to be quite a high number. However, because I changed this 13 in my estimation more than my 24, I'm going to think that my final sum is going to be a little higher than 250. So let's find out. So first, let's concretely look at this equation. So first, I'm going to use a simple array. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay out our two factors on our two axes here. So first, we're going to lay out our 24 using our base 10 blocks. Good. And then we can lay out our 13 on this other axis here. There we go. So we have laid out our equation on our array. And all we need to do now is to start filling it in. And we do that by breaking apart our factors into the smaller factors using our base 10 blocks. So we can first look at 20 multiplied by 10. And we can fill that in using our 100s blocks. So we have 200 there. And then we can break it apart further. We can look at 10 multiplied by 4. 10 multiplied by 4 equals 40. And so we can fill this in. And then we can look at the next part of the equation, 20 multiplied by 3. So if we think of 2 times 3, that would equal 6. So 20 times 3 would equal 60. And this is looking really good. Now all we have to deal with is the 4 and the 3. So 4 multiplied by 3 would equal 12. And there we go. We have our entire array filled out. So then all we need to do is count out what we have here. So first we can look at our two 100s blocks. So 2 times 100 would equal 200. And we can put that down here. And then we can look at our 4 10s here. So 4 times 10 would equal 40. We can add that to our equation here. And then we've got our 20 times 3, and that would equal 60. We can add that here. Finally, all we have is 4 multiplied by 3, and that would equal 12. And we can add that to our new equation. All we need to do now is to add up. We carry the 1 here. And our final solution is 312. So that's a way of exploring it concretely. Now, how about pictorially? Well, all we need to do is do the same thing. First, let's lay out our factors. So there's the 24, and there's the 13. So now we do the same steps as we did concretely. So 20 multiplied by 10 would equal 200. Then we can do the next part of the equation. 10 multiplied by 4, and that would equal 40. Next, we can look at the 20 multiplied by 3, and that would equal 60. And then we just have the 4 and the 3 to deal with again. And so 4 multiplied by 3 would equal 12. And there we go. So now we've filled out our array. All we have to do is add up all of our different mini equations to find out our final sum. So 20 multiplied by 10 equaled our two 100 blocks here. So that's 200. And then we have our 4 multiplied by 10, and that would equal 40. So you can see here we have our 4 tens blocks. And then we have our 20 multiplied by 3, and we have our 6 10 blocks here, so that's 60. And finally, 4 multiplied by 3, and that would equal 12, as you can see by our 12 1 blocks. And again, all we have to do is add up. So our final solution, again, is 312. So now, how do we write this symbolically? So, all we have to do is look at what we did previously and just represent that using our numbers. So, our original equation was 24 multiplied by 13. Now, all we have to do is break it apart like we did before. So 20 multiplied by 10 equaled 200. Next, 10 multiplied by 4 equaled 40. Next, our 20 multiplied by 3 equaled 60. And finally, our 4 multiplied by 3 equaled 12. And again, all we have to do is add up those sums to get our final sum. And again, we end up with 312. So, we looked at, now looking at our final solution, our final sum, it was a lot larger than our 250, our original estimate. But our 250 is still a large number, and so it got us in the right direction in finding out what our final sum is. So now that we've explored this concretely, pictorially, and symbolically, how would I personally go about trying to solve 24 multiplied by 13? But first, I would like to break up the factors into easier factors that are easier to work with. So 20 and 4. And I'm going to leave the 13 as is. So now we're going to have our 20 times 13, and then we'll do 4 times 13 later. So 20 multiplied by 13. I can break apart that into even smaller numbers. I can break apart 20 into 10 and into 2. And then I can do 13 multiplied by 10, and then I can multiply by 2 later. So 13 multiplied by 10 would equal 130. All I need to do now is use this 2 again. So 130 multiplied by 2 would equal 260. So that's 1/2 of the problem explored. So now, all we have to deal now is with the 13 and the 4. We can break apart the 4 again into 2 easier factors, 2 and 2. So 13 multiplied by 2 would equal 26. And 26 multiplied by 2 would equal 52. And there we go. Now that we have our 2 parts of the equation solved, all we need to do now is to add it together these mini sums in order to get the final answer. So 260 plus 52 would equal 312. And that is our final solution. So that is a way that we can explore this problem, 24 multiplied by 13, concretely, pictorially, and symbolically, and finally with a personal strategy. Thank you very much, and happy Christmas.